Going to have a look at a couple of exercises that are useful for practicing your pull-off technique. Now, again, I've done a video on this previously some time ago. My last video on exercises that I've just re-recorded was on hammer-ons. Pull-offs are more or less the opposite of hammer-ons. A lot of people, when you're starting out, myself included, you find that pull-offs tend to be a little bit more difficult to execute physically than hammer-ons. The simple reason for that is the physics of your body. So if you can imagine, when you're used to using your hand, you're normally used to gripping and clenching to grab things or to hold things. So your muscles are stronger when you're closing your hand. They're not as strong when you're opening your hand out. So your hammering technique, if you will, is reliant on closing your fingers on those muscles. The pull-off technique is the opposite. It's about opening your hand. And we just don't get as much practice as that in everyday life. So if both these techniques, hammers and pulls, are new to you, probably recommend checking out the previous exercise video on the hammer-ons. Have a go at that first. I'll put a link in the description before having a go at the pull-offs. But if you've seen that already, or if you're okay with hammers but not with pulls, then we'll have a look at a couple of exercises that might be useful to you now. Pull-off exercises, I'm going to start off with starting my second finger on my 4th fret. Doesn't really matter where you start, but this is where I've got it because that's where my camera's pointing, and my first finger on the 3rd fret. So those two notes. Now, I've just described it by starting with my second finger and then moving to my first finger, because that's going to be the direction of the pull-off. So I'm going to play the note using my second finger on the 4th fret, and then for the next note, for the 3rd fret note, I'm not going to pick that. I'm going to pull my second finger off so that the note sounds automatically. You should be able to hear that I'm only picking the first note. The second one is just being generated by me pulling my finger off the string and allowing it to ring. Again, just like the hammer-on technique, there's a little bit of trial and error involved in how firmly or how aggressive, if you will, you need to be in terms of pulling your finger off to be able to make the note sound. It's not something I can show you the feel on the video, something you'll have to practice, but you'll find that if you're not as strong in taking your finger off, if you just slowly lift your finger off, you've got a risk of it damping the second note out. So you need to be able to bring the finger off quite quickly. For the second note to be able to ring out. You don't have to be overly aggressive, you don't have to... You're not trying to pull the string off the guitar, but that's something that you'll develop by feel the more and more that you experience exercises like this and trying to play these techniques. So that's our starting point. So starting my second finger on 4th fret, first finger on 3rd fret, I play, let's say, 4 repetitions of that. And then after that, I'm going to switch to my 3rd finger to begin with. I'll keep my first finger where it is, that can stay there, and I'll play the same pull off, but between my 5th fret and my 3rd fret, which is going to sound like. So I'm going to do 4 reps of that, for instance, and then finally, because I want to get my little finger involved in this practice, move up another fret to my 6th fret using my little finger, and I'll do 4 pull-offs between that and the 3rd fret. Those two notes. I was picking them then, but when we pull them off, it should sound like this. So I'll put that together as a complete exercise. Let's say let's do 4 reps of each drill, and that'll complete the workout for all 4 of the fingers. So we'll start with the first one that I described. Switch to my next finger. Then my little finger. And go back down. And that completes this exercise. As ever, don't worry about your speed. Get your notes nice and clean before trying to play at a million miles an hour. If your technique's bad and your notes aren't clean, you're not going to sound good, no matter how fast you think you can play it. Once you've got it right and the notes are clean, you can build your speed up from there and you'll sound a lot better, and your habits will be better and your playing will be better overall. So again, just like me hammer-on exercises, I was using my index finger as the anchor point for all of the exercises that I've just showed you. So I was using the index finger and another finger, be it my middle finger, ring or little pinky, any of those, but it's always easier when you're just relying mainly on your index finger. So just like the previous video with the hammer-ons, I'm going to use the same exercise in reverse that I did on that, and we're going to mix it up and practice pull-offs between each of our different finger sets, so we build up more resilience and more strength in the other fingers and not just rely on the index finger all the time. So the second exercise is going to be very similar. Again, like my hammer-ons video, we were in the first exercise, we were heavily reliant on our first finger. That's our strong finger, our safe finger, if you want to call it that. And we were going to use that on all of the little drills throughout the exercise. We're going to switch it up and we're going to change to doing different finger pairings. So we're going to start off with working our second and first fingers. 4 reps of that, let's say, and then instead of just relying on that first finger, I'm going to work my third and second fingers. So you can see first finger's nowhere to be seen, I'll get it out of the way. And then finally, this probably might be the tricky one of all of them, is we're going to do fourth and third fingers. So to convert that into an exercise, let's do it all together, and we'll play 4 reps of each one, just like before. Second and first fingers, third and second fingers, fourth and third fingers. We'll come back down. One thing to definitely bear in mind, particularly with the pull-offs, is we want to make sure that our whatever finger's playing our second note is already in place in advance. So if I'm playing, let's start with the most basic, the first one, you can see that my first finger is already there, it's on the string, it's sat there, it's holding the string already. I'm not trying to get it on afterwards, it's there, it's ready. So all I'm doing is removing the finger. And my second note is already fretted for me. As with any exercise, make sure that you're sounding your notes nice and cleanly. I can't emphasise enough, the speed doesn't matter, just practice it at whatever speed or tempo you're happy with until you're comfortable with the technique and all of your notes are sounding clean. Don't be trying to play ahead of yourself, play too fast and get carried away with just wanting speed. That will come with practice over time, don't worry about that. Once you get your technique right at a slow speed, you're going to have good technique going forward as and when you speed it up. Use a metronome again if you need to. I mentioned that on my hammer-ons video, and also just like on the other video, I was doing it in one position for the sake of filming. Practice that in different positions around the neck because of the different fret spacings, and practice it on different strings because the strings are different sizes and weights, so you're comfortable and you can be confident being able to do that wherever you need to do that when you come to do it in a song. These are just exercises, they don't sound great, they're very boring, but it's a foundation for you to build on. Once your technique's there, you can approach learning songs and not be intimidated by having to do these things because you've already got the finger dexterity and the know-how, you've practiced them cleanly, so it'll help your entire guitar playing going forward, and you'll be able to spend more time enjoying your playing.